All right, here I'm going to talk about reincarnation. I've mentioned in a couple of videos already, the toxicity of heavy metals and the detriment that it has on memory. Here's the thing, though. When you start to think about memory, we start to go by layers of memory. You see, we're born just like any animal with instinctual memory. Okay, so let's say, for example, cats meow. That's been built on as far as genetic memory goes, and that's been passed down from generation to generation based on the fact that a cat interacts with humans in that way to basically get the human's attention. It's basically something that was developed, through time, where cats observe how babies cry, so they kind of mimic the sounds that babies make because they see that humans cater to babies intensively. So a cat wants to get a human's attention by actually mimicking the sounds of babies. Okay, now this is more or less like memory that's been passed down from generation to generation. Now, when you look at, I made a video on, evolution and basically what it means to grow as an individual. But in actuality, let's say if you start from a single-celled organism, then a multi-celled organism, the process all the way up until you become, an animal or more complex animal to a human and whatnot. What separates us humans from the animals or anything under us is basically the fact that we have a big frontal cortex. Our level of awareness, our abilities to create and make decisions, intelligent decisions and choices for us that animals can't. We can create our reality. And if something's unfavorable to us, then of course we could change that reality with our mind, which is a tool. Okay, so when you start to look at it from let's say the single-celled organism and working its way up. Okay, everything that you experience here as a human outside of yourself is basically coming from your mind. Everything that you see is really just ideas. It really isn't something that we can call real, but it's real because you are interacting with it. So it's real. Okay, you can say, I believe, in somebody I'm speaking to because I'm physically interacting with them. I can shake their hand, but they're really not even there. So I already spoke about examples where this comes into karma and whatnot. So if you want to know in depth on, is karma even real, then watch my previous video and it'll explain a little bit about that. And I can actually go a little bit deeper on that, but my camera actually, battery died. So I couldn't pretty much get as deep as I wanted to, but I think I pretty much covered a majority of the points that I wanted to cover. But when it comes down to, let's say, the single-celled organism, all that is basically you having one entire experience. So anything in between that we would call death is nothing but a resting period. That's why when somebody dies, they say that this person was put to rest. Okay? Or when you dead a relationship, you know what I'm saying? You let things go. So you let go of this body and this existence when you die. However, when you don't know yourself, it is hard to detach from that, because you don't see yourself as nothing. You always have to see yourself as something. So you always go chase something else, which is why when you die, they say, don't go to the false light. The whole thing is you want to put yourself in another container. You get what I'm saying? And this is basically something that would continue on the same cycles. So it's basically learning what death really actually is here. But it really is important when it comes down to memory, because as a single-celled organism, when you're experiencing as a single-celled organism your entire evolutionary process all the way up until you become a human, it doesn't affect you. The memory part doesn't affect you up until you become a human. But it's been more prevalent now, even in animals. This is why animals have to get vaccinated. But these vaccines are actually something that affects your memory, but on a deeper level than just remembering something here that you like. If you learn something in school and then, you know what I'm saying, you can remember it the next year. I'm not talking about that kind of memory. I can give you an example of what I'm trying to say here. It could be in even levels of sleep. When you sleep, right, you can go into a light sleep or you can go into a deep sleep, like REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement sleep. But if I shake you, I can still wake you up, right? But there's another level of sleep, a drugged sleep, which is basically a sedative sleep that you'd be so under that people will cut you open and you still won't wake up, which is what, you know, the type of sleep that you get put under when you're basically cut open to get operated on. All right, so this is another level of sleep. And then the deepest sleep, of course, would be death. But death comes into the fact that there's no more tempo. Time is done. You're outside of space and time now. So life basically comes down to once that heartbeat stops, which is connected to time, basically, because when you see your heart rate, your heart goes boom, 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 boom. It's kind of like the seconds on the clock. But your experience here determines if time slows down or speeds up for you. You ever notice that, you know, when you're having fun, time speeds up, but when you're slowed down, or let's say you're bored out of your ass, then time kind of slows down. You get what I'm saying? So now when it comes down to the levels of sleep, there's people who are walking, but to me, they look like walking zombies. They're not aware. They're not woke or conscious. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the things that, you know, happen to them on a day-to-day basis, as far as like, let's say, negative thought patterns and whatnot, these things play in their head. They have situations in their life that keep repeating themselves, but they're not aware of what is actually happening from the root cause of what is causing their reality. They don't have an understanding that their reality is being caused by them, rather than pointing fingers outside of themselves, putting themselves in victim mode. It's all patterns that were programmed from the time that you were born. So once you become aware, this is a level of waking up, a level of consciousness. Okay? So now, when I talk about memory, all right, the memory that I'm talking about is basically the memory that would start affecting even, let's say, for example, everything strives to stay alive here. Okay, if you see, you know, animals, they strive to stay alive and survive. Humans, the same thing. Okay, but you're not your body. You get what I'm saying? The reason that your body strives to stay alive is actually a good thing, which is why all the systems inside of you, which is, you're nothing. If you really look at your body, you're like a robot. You know what I'm saying? Like but it's not a robot that's made of metal. It's like an organic, flesh, meaty, robot human. You get what I'm saying? And everything is basically working on its own. We have like systems that work automatically, that you're not really doing anything to keep you alive. The system is basically, and if you, let's say, contract like some type of infection or whatnot, the body by itself tries to do its best to eliminate it by even raising temperature in form of a fever. You know what I'm saying? Your body is like a smart machine that knows what it needs to do when it's being invaded by foreign toxins or infections and, you know, viruses. It processes these things, but then what doesn't kill it actually makes it stronger. So when you look at viruses are basically something, to me, that is outside of space and time. First of all, you can't even, you know how hard it is for you to observe a virus even under a microscope? It's something that's even metaphysical. There's the word meta again. So viruses is from man, but it's not even a living object. It's like, but it's not an inanimate object. It knows that it needs a host to actually thrive and survive, right? So when you have a virus being an inanimate object, a lifeless object, because you can't kill a virus. A virus, it's not alive. So it's technically outside of space and time. So it's something that's already experiencing the death realm, right? So when you come in contact with it, your body processes it. But however, every time that we take medications, or let's say if our body is not built strong enough, it can actually kill you. But these viruses actually are ancient. We have all information of ancient viruses that go back to even beyond Egyptian times. And this is something that is helping us through the evolutionary process. All right. Whenever we come in contact with different people, based on our vibration, and everybody's vibration is raising up. I'm hearing, like, you know, spiritual people talking about, you know, we're transforming into the fourth density. And fourth density, if you really look at it, if there is a shift, which people are like saying, oh, I'm psychic and I can see the future. Here's what's to come in 2022. And I'm looking at these channels for some reason to see what it is they have to say. And they're talking about, oh, they know because they're psychic. Let's say if they did know and there is a shift. All right. Paradigm shifts could work either controlled by you, or they could be done without you knowing because you don't know yourself, such as a metaverse. And that's an example. A metaverse can shift your reality in an instant, where you'd forget this even exists out here, right? Now, notice how they want you to put vaccines. They want you to put, take all these supplements, all these medications. This is basically what they're talking about when it comes down to DNA. So DNA is memory. It's basically when they talk about distorting your DNA, which is your memory, which is like junk DNA. The key here is to basically activate DNA and interacting in this reality. You see, this is the thing. When it comes to viruses and all these like illusionary things called diseases, they're all lower frequencies. They're all lower frequencies. Your body should be able to process them and you wouldn't even realize if they actually came in contact with your body. But let's say if one happened to make you feel ill. Okay, because you're really not sick when you have a fever and all that. You're actually healing. You get sick before those symptoms. If your body feels like it doesn't recognize this virus, then it might have to raise temperature, create a bunch of conditions where you may have diarrhea, you may vomit, and that's to eliminate these toxins. But it's not coming from the virus. These are toxins that are in you that are getting wasted out to let your body actually process the virus. And this virus is upgrade. All viruses are upgrades. They're actually something that helps you on the evolutionary process, which is why now animals actually help us evolve. Animals help us with the evolutionary process because even their bacteria is actually memory for us. So let's say anything that we come in contact with is actually something that helps us evolve. I'm watching the movie Underworld, where they just basically lick the blood of the other individual and they're able to read the memory of that person. Let's say the person didn't want to talk and they're interrogating them. All they have to do is lick the blood and they actually get the entire information. I think that was from the movie Twilight or Underworld. I don't remember which one it was. All right, so when you talk about vampires and what they actually do. So memory, okay, is coming, because listen, we have instinctual memory. When we come out of the womb, we know to suck on a titty. Right? We know that we have to cry when we're uncomfortable to make sure that we get our diaper changed, or like there's just things that we do, and we're not self-aware of ourselves when we're babies. These are just instinctual things. When you start to become self-aware, like aware of yourself, you're an individual, because you're no different than a dog when you're at that age. When you're at that age, you're just like a dog. You know what I'm saying? You do nothing but shit, eat, and that's it, and sleep. It's no different than the cats. It's no different than the cats. No. It's no different than the cats. So that was my son. So I excuse me about that. So now what starts to separate you is right after the ages of 1 through 7. Once you pass 7 years old, you start to become more self-aware. You start to not, because this is why the programming is so intense. And even when the kids go to school, it's basically like bringing them outside of themselves rather than teach them basically about the elements, how the energy and your mind works. They start to give them problems in school and spelling words, which basically is what keeps you here in this reality is language, and it separates you from you, because this is not the natural way to communicate. You see, when you're meditating, you notice how you listen to certain frequencies and you actually start to even see geometric patterns in your sight of vision. And the reason this happens is because frequencies actually is what creates shapes in this reality. Okay, that's why the word was created with the world was created with the word. And you got, with the Adam's apple. I'm gonna get into the video with Adam and Eve and all that. I don't even want to talk too much on that because it would make this video crazy. But memory is basically shut down through toxins and these heavy metals. Because let me tell you something. This is the reason why. It makes you receptive to things outside of you that are basically electromagnetic, or let's say a pollution toward the natural frequency, which is why we have let's say 5G and Wi-Fi and all these type of things. These things really wouldn't affect you if your body is actually able to filter through these things, and you will still hear the signal that you're meant to hear, basically whatever natural frequencies of the universe that it is that you're trying to channel and receive, because it's basically like you're in a let's say if you're in a nightclub and somebody's talking to you, do you notice how you have to raise your voice, or the person that's talking to you, it's hard to hear them because of the environmental noise. But when you're in a silent room, you're able to have a conversation without straining so much. You know what I'm saying? Like you can actually talk normal, because when you talk loud, that's actually energy draining. So a lot of the times, the reason you feel so drained is that you're like, you ever had a phone that's trying to catch signal and you notice the battery dies quicker when the reception is low, but when the reception is good, the battery life actually lasts a little bit longer. It's the same thing. So you have to try to keep yourself, because the environment is basically everything you're noticing out here as far as 5G, as far as Wi-Fi's and all that shit is basically you. Like I said, the clearer you maintain yourself, these frequencies won't affect you because they're not really there. You know what I'm saying? The reason I even say this is people, let's say spiritual attacks and all this shit. See, all this protection spells and all that, it's you literally psychologically telling you that there's something out there bigger than you that you have to protect yourself from. Once you know in your heart of hearts that you know what you are and you know that there's nothing outside that can fuck with you, there's no need for you to even do any of that shit because nothing can really fuck with you. You get what I'm saying? Your aura is too big. You already put yourself out there so big because in your mind you're convinced that you're really that big, but it's not coming from like an ego space where you're like, I'm better than anybody else. No, you just know what you are. This is why Jesus, doesn't matter how much they beat his ass, what they did to him. Like, he knew that they couldn't kill him. They would kill his body, but they wouldn't kill him. You know what I'm saying? He was gonna live on. He'll come back and just do this shit in another form and be like a fucking a parasite. You know what I'm saying? He'll just invade another host, right? Which we would call an enlightened being or whatnot. But you see, we look at parasites and these things as infections, but we look at these infections as a bad thing. Sometimes the infections are not just bad. The infections could be good too. This is why I said some viruses you get infected by are actually something you want to get infected by. And that's why when kids play in dirt, they're strengthening their immune system. They're becoming stronger because these things are good for them. It's building memory within them so that whenever these other viruses try to invade their space again, they already build defenses to it. They already build their immunity toward it. And the immune system is basically your lymphatic system to begin with. So it all starts from what you're eating anyway. If you're eating things that are straining your kidneys, which is why protein diets are so pushed, because protein actually puts a lot of pressure on your kidneys. And your kidneys, right above that, is your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands actually controls your autonomic nervous system, which is why, like, once that's fatigued, think about this. Those are steroids that get pushed on to pump these it's like the gas that keeps the engine moving. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have an engine that's full of viscosity, like, you know what I'm saying? You got a lot of carbon buildup, right? And it's not clear. The engine is straining. It's straining because it's not flowing freely, you know what I'm saying, in the combustion chamber. So there's a lot of obstacles there, and the motor's working harder. So you keep your body working easier and clearer, and then your mental state, because everything starts from the mind anyway. So you have to believe in yourself first. Then you can believe everything out here the way it is. But know this, because I know I went all over the place with this video, but when it comes down to memory, you have to really think about it from the point that you were a single-celled organism, right? This is why they say when love is letting go, and if it's meant to be, it'll come back. As a single-celled organism, every time you've evolved, you've left something behind. You've left something behind. Why do you think the Egyptians left so much, the Sumerians, they left cuneiform text, like we call hieroglyphs for us, right? They left something behind as memory, as information, but we don't recognize it. It's hard for us to recognize it or know what it is because we don't know who and where and what we came from. But there was advanced societies. However, just think about this though. The moment you came out the womb is when this game started. But you're supposed to remember the things that were actually imprinted there, knowing that you designed the game, right? And you're playing this game. You're the creator. You're playing as the creation, but you're actually the creator. And these things are all there for you to actually recognize it and realize it. Okay? It's not to be smarter and read all these things and know these books. It's know actually what you're reading and what you're actually processing. What did you get out of it? You know, because somebody can read something and they'll give you a whole regurgitated fucking book of shit that they know. Like these channels where they want to dive deep in all this shit. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're diving deep enough. You get what I'm saying? And this is a travesty because with that amount of followers, man, I mean, I would try to make it a priority. You know what I'm saying? If this is what I'm doing as a living, I'm trying to make this a priority with integrity and self-honesty at all times. Just try to dive as deep as possible. You know what I'm saying? Without drowning anybody. Okay? But the thing is that you have to make sure that you can dive as deep as possible without drowning yourself first. Because if you're not able to dive that deep and you know you'll drown and you try to take people that deep, then those people are going to drown because you can't even fucking get down that deep. So very important that try to get always to the root source of things. It doesn't matter what it is. Everything is always going to come back to you. If you can keep your mind on that everything always comes back to you, the solutions will always come. You know why? Because the moment your mind is always toward looking for solutions outside of you, you're never going to be sure. But the moment you bring that attention right back to you, that ask and you shall receive type of shit will actually surface within you, especially through fucking meditations. So I hope I made sense in this video, because it might have sounded crazy, but you're always leaving something behind. And this is why, let's say when you have kids, what type of generational wealth do you pass down to your offsprings? Okay? Because at the end of the day, it's just generational wealth to repeat the system. You're just bringing in more slaves into the system. If you don't become self-aware of how this shit actually works, this is how this shit continues and continues. And now we're going to go into a metaverse that we never even created, right? We have all this in play. But again, the reason we're even observing this is through generations of how we have treated technology as it's been introduced to us. So things look alien to us. But the reason it looks alien to us is because you don't know that you're the actual alien. Once you know that, you'll start to see all this shit as fucking outdated. To the point where you're like, I don't even want to do this shit no more. There's people who say, I want to leave and never come back. You're leaving, but you never even really got a full understanding of what it is that you're leaving. You get what I'm saying? You may not even want to leave. You may want to actually stay here on a really deep level because you still think that you are either black or white or fucking American or whatever it may be. I'm talking about really knowing, believing in this. That you know, you have to know this. That you ain't shit. This is not you. You are in this world, but you're not of it. And this is why I'm telling you, man, I'm coming to these realizations. I'm looking at this shit. Sometimes, you know why it's helped me so much? Sometimes I look at people that would have normally triggered me. And I'm like, God damn, yo, this shit don't even fucking bother me no more. Because I've mentally tried to program myself to know that these motherfuckers don't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. But get to the point that you can actually understand the mechanics of because you're a robot. You're in the Iron Man suit. This Iron Man suit will tell you certain things, okay? And that's it. I mean, who's the one operating it, though, at the end of the day? Like, you drive your car, you ain't fucking moving the pistons, you're not flowing the oil. Everything's happening, you're just driving the vehicle. So you just ride this vehicle. First of all, think of even like this. You're planted in one spot. From the point, wherever you're at, you may just be in one spot, right? But how do you know that you're really moving on this earth and the earth is just not moving under you? Because think about this, though. For you to actually move around in your universe, you have to stay completely still, right? You have to stay completely still. For you to go into a metaverse, you're with goggles and your body has to stay completely still through certain experiences, right? Unless you're doing a virtual reality workout or whatnot. Listen, the technology has its cool perks to it. There's things that are going to be pretty cool to do. Like if you can get a workout in there and whatnot, but not to let this shit take over you. And I mentioned this in a video 2 years ago that I linked in the description of my previous video, where I call it merging timelines. I linked 3 videos that I did 2 years ago. And I clearly said this: it don't matter what you get into, as long as you know yourself, you get into whatever the fuck you want. All right? What's the best place to start? Knowing yourself first. We'll talk soon.